watching us in Kenya and around the world. This is live from Broadcasting House, Nairobi, Kenya. Good evening, I'm Edmund Mudibo. Top in this bulletin. Silent descent strategy. The Deputy President chides Azimio of running out of options as the opposition slams the church for silence. An appeal for relief food as 5 victims of poisonous mushroom meal are buried in Kilifi. Graft in Londiani accident victims kitty for senior Kericho County officials to be sent home. We're glad you could join us this 12th day of August 2023. Our sign language interpreter is Byron Abuli. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has criticized the opposition for urging their supporters to stay at home in the new anti-government strategy as opposed to the street demos. Rigathi says the opposition had no other option other than the government quelled the protests. The Deputy President, who spoke at ACK St. Mark's Church, Lokirenyi in Nandi County, however, held that the high cost of living can be alleviated by supporting food production and not by partisan talks.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Saturday responded to Raila Odinga's change of tact from calling for street protest to silent dissent by staying at home.
Umepanga kazi yako ati mtu akwambie uweze toka kwako. Si hiyo ni mchezo wako naye.
Speaking during a fundraiser at ACK St. Mark's Church, Lokireni in Nandi County, the Deputy President said the opposition's new move was as a result of the government containing the demos.
So wamejaribu kutoa fujo, imegonga mawe. Nimeona mzee jana akisema, si lazima tutoe watu kwa barabara, hata watu wanaweza kuzuiwa kutoka kwa nyumba. Anasema si lazima utoe watu kwa barabara kwa sababu haiwezekani kupeleka watu kwa barabara. Tumehakikisha hakuna mtu ataenda kwa barabara. Si ati ni maneno inatoka kwa roho yake, ni vile imekuwa ngumu.
The Kenya Kwanza Alliance lawmakers, however, demanded that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leaders in the bipartisan talks commit to ending the anti-government protests.
Hiyo mazungumzo iko Nairobi iendelee pale Bomas. Sisi tuko kazini. Mimi na rais, we have no time. Mimi sina nafasi ya kwenda mazungumzo, rais hana nafasi ya kwenda mazungumzo. Sasa wabunge wako pale, ile watakubaliana watuambie kama iko kitu ya kukubaliana. Si uchaguzi uliisha. Sasa wenye kuamua kura ni nani? Sasa simulimaliza. Si mtaamua tena 2027. So wakuja tukutane kwa debe.
While pushing for better prices of maize, milk and other agricultural produce, the county MP said the cost of living can only be lowered by supporting food production and not through boardroom talks.
Wiki jao tunatangaza another program. Sasa muambie watu wenu wawachane na mambo ya maandamano, wawachane na mambo ya sufuria kwa kichwa, waende wajiandikishe, wachukue fertilizer, waende kwa shamba. Hapo ndio maneno iko. Hii maneno yote inaishia kwa shamba. Sasa watoe hao kwa street waarudisha wapi?
Gachagua also revealed that after touring Central Kenya region, President William Ruto will head to the Rift Valley region for a 4-day development tour, followed by Eastern Kenya and Western Kenya regions. Giverson Minor, Legends Edition.
President William Ruto says President William Ruto has rallied the African continent to make deliberate decisions to increase trade among its nations and eliminate barriers to trade to exploit opportunities in the continent. Speaking in Maputo, Mozambique, the head of state said decisions must be made to promote intra-continental trade in the continent.
In his state visit in Maputo, Mozambique, President William Ruto on Saturday addressed delegates at the Joaquim Chissano International Conference Center during the Mozambique-Kenya Business Investment Forum. Here, the president rooted for free movement of people and goods if investors are fully to exploit the continent's potential.
The Continental Free Trade Area Agreement or the free EXIM settlement facilities we are putting in place will give us an opportunity, give our business people an opportunity to escalate intra-African trade to where other regions are.
Ruto wants the Pan-African Parliament empowered to hold the African Union accountable.
When you have responsibilities, you must be held to account. There must be an accountability mechanism. The Pan-African Parliament today doesn't have the capacity to hold the Africa Union executive to account. I'm very confident that shortly we shall reform our continental body so that we have a body that is fit for purpose and that can serve the people of our continent adequately.
His host, President Felipe Yusi, lauded opportunities for investments in agro-processing, production of flowers, and infrastructural development, among other sectors.
We invite the distinguished business people from Kenya and Mozambique to use their capacity as entrepreneurs to develop business and partnerships.
The two presidents also concluded and signed a mutual recognition of driving licenses between the two countries. For Legends Edition, I'm Ben Troinjue.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition has lashed out at the church, accusing it of failing to condemn police brutality reported during the recent wave of anti-government protests. The opposition coalition also wants the church to call out Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome for claiming that the opposition hired dead bodies to justify their anti-government cause. Wycliffe Okech reports.
The church was on Saturday on the receiving end from the opposition, accused of failing to call out police brutality, loss of lives and destruction of property reported during the recent wave of anti-government protests orchestrated by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition.
If the church was to do what is expected of them by the Bible, we will not be here where we are. Tia jama akia Mungu, mukubali tu muondoke nyinyi watu wa kanisa. Muende muone hili mili ya hawa vijana vile wamepigwa bunduki. Kwa nini mnaongea mkiwa kule hamwelewi? Endeni tu muone ama mtembelee zile mafamilia. You know, the religious community and especially the church cannot just be issuing knee-jerk statements when the country is going under. And yet, in most times, those statements just scratch at the surface.
The leaders who spoke at a church in Kisumu also criticized the Inspector General of Police for his recent remarks on the victims of the protests.
These are real people with real families. And then somebody has the audacity to come and say that we have gone to the mortuary and bought bodies to display. I have never seen this kind of insensitivity.
Na sisi mnajua vile tunaheshimu maiti. Sisi hatuwezi kuuza maiti kwa sababu ya siasa. Tumesema huyu mtu anaitwa Koome, lazima akome kuwa IG wa Kenya sababu hafai kuwa kwenye hiyo ofisi.
The opposition coalition remained categorical on their demands as the bipartisan dialogue continues.
We've agreed, yes, we can talk. But we'll only talk so long as there are conducive environment for talking. We have also said we do not want a share in Kenya Kwanza government. We do not want handshake.
As we engage in talks finally, it has to be through utmost good faith. Let us not hide any cards beneath the table because Kenyans are yearning for better things.
Raila and his allies reiterated their commitment to the bipartisan dialogue but warned against any attempts by the government to silence the opposition. For the Legends edition, I am Wycliffe Okech.
The political class from Western Kenya is calling on members of parliament allied to the ruling party to adopt a flexible stance in the negotiations between them and the opposition. The leaders spoke in Lugari constituency, Kakamega County, where they cautioned that the ongoing grandstanding could make the desired results elusive.
Western Kenya politicians led by Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza have stressed the importance of dialogue in fostering political cohesion between the government and the opposition.
We need to have a conversation ambayo itasaidia mambo ya kuleta amani kwa nchi yetu, kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa na maendeleo kama hatuko na vita.
Deputy Governor Ayub Savola said the country stands to gain more from the success of dialogue that will also offer viable solutions to challenges facing the nation. Similar sentiments were expressed by Muslim leaders who attended the Quran competition at Kakamega's Jamia Mosque, who called on Kenya Kwanza leaders to be receptive to dialogue and ensure the talks restore peace and calm in the country.
Kila mtu aangalie Mkenya, asijiangalie yeye mwenyewe.
Yusufar reporting for the Legends edition.
A somber mood engulfed Ketelendwa B village in Bamba, Gaza constituency in Kilifi County yesterday evening as the bodies of 5 children who died after consuming poisonous mushrooms were laid to rest. The bodies of the 5, 14-year-old Furaha Juma, 9-year-old Mariam Juma, 7-year-old Sharifu Juma, 8-year-old Mustafa Juma and their 9-year-old cousin Idi Charo arrived in the village Friday evening as villagers waited to pay their last respects. Maitha Kahindi, the family spokesperson, called on the government to initiate programs in Ganze that would alleviate hunger in the area. Mirini Assistant Chief Lennox Katana called for initiation of school feeding programs.
Wajue kwamba huku Ganze tuna changamoto ya njaa jameni, si matani. Kwa sababu ni jambo la kuhuzunisha. Mimi Edi ni mtoto wangu kwa sababu ni mtoto wa brother. Juma ni mtoto wa ndugu yangu ambaye ameaga, watoto wake 4 wameaga. Hilo ni jambo la kuhuzunisha. Kufikia hapo
kuenda mbele ni kwamba tungehitaji kusaidika zaidi kwa sababu ya hali hii, na hata kama serikali inaweza ikaingilia kati, kwa sababu hivi karibuni wanajamii walilima lakini mapato hayakuwa mazuri vile.
Nashukuru kwa Mombasa Cement kunisaidia kunilipia bili za watoto wangu na pia za mochari na kunipa usafiri wa kupeleka watoto wangu mpaka nyumbani. Na nashukuru Mombasa Cement kwa kunisaidia kwa kunilipia bili za wale walikuwa hai na pia wale walikufa.
Tunaomba walimu wote wa shule pia wajitokezee, wawe wakifundisha watoto kuwaelekeza mushroom gani ambayo inaliwa na binadamu na haitakani kuliwa na binadamu pia.
The Kericho County Assembly has approved an ad hoc committee report recommending the removal of 4 senior county officials over the alleged theft of compensation funds for Londiani accident victims. The 4 county officers include the Secretary and Head of County Public Services, Dr. Wesley Bohr, the County Executive for Health Services, Brenda Bilby, the County Executive for Finance and Economic Planning and Head of County Treasury, Leonard Ngetich, and the County Chief Officer, Executive Office of the Governor, Alphonse Rotich.
The report follows complaints that only 5.7 million of the 13.7 million raised in aid of the Londiani accident victims reached those intended families. According to the ad hoc report read in Kericho County Assembly by the committee chair Moses Rono, a number of malpractices were highlighted in misuse of the funds raised. In one case, the bill for a patient treated at Kericho County Referral Hospital was hiked from 2,400 to 132,000 shillings. Similarly, 15,650 shillings was spent on a 6,050 shillings bill. In a total, the patient's bill amounted to 600,000 shillings, but was exaggerated to almost 4 million. Each of the 53 families who lost their loved ones in the accident was given 90,000 shillings, while those who were injured were given 60,000 shillings. 3.5 million shillings was paid to Kericho County Referral Hospital and Londiani Sub-County Hospital. Governor Eric Mutai had said during the fundraiser that the county government will foot the hospital and mortuary bill. 2.9 million shillings was paid to a tent company and another 411,000 to another company for provisions of tents in a Kericho hotel and 100,000 Kenyan shillings for lunch of 100 people. The county public service management allegedly spent 423,000 Kenyan shillings on transport, refreshments and printing. The county commissioner's office reportedly received 300,000 Kenyan shillings for fuel, lunch and allowances. The 4 officers recommended for removal from office are Dr. Wesley Boer, the county secretary and head of county public service. He was accused of forgery of minutes, approval of withdrawal of funds contrary to provisions of Section 138 of Public Finance Management Act, overseeing misappropriation of funds and abuse of office. The CCM Health Services, Brenda Bill B, was accused of overseeing misappropriation of funds raised and failing on accountability. The CCM Finance and Economic Planning, Leonard Ngetich, was accused of irregular withdrawal of funds contrary to Section 138 of the Public Finance Management Act, abuse of office and non-disclosure of information. The County Chief Officer in the Executive Office of the Governor, Alphonse Rotich, was accused of forgery, abuse of office and violation of procurement rules. Serafina Robi for Legends Edition.
Well, it's time now for our first break, but don't go too far because there's plenty on the other side.
Are you ready for the biggest event of the year? The Council of Governors and its partners present the Devolution Conference 2023, happening from 15th to 19th August in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. The theme of the conference is 10 years of devolution, the present and the future, and the sub-theme, driving transformation from the local level, county governments at the center of economic development. Over the years, we've brought together local and international delegates to discuss best practices and strategies to foster improved service delivery in devolved sectors and further drive change in subnational governments. The sectors to be covered include healthcare, agriculture, trade development and industrialization, blue economy, natural resource management, affordable housing, the digital economy and integration of technology, youth empowerment and affirmative action, among others. Engage in thought-provoking discussions during breakout sessions addressing key challenges and emerging issues on devolution. Don't miss the prestigious Devolution Warrior Awards, honoring individuals and institutions that champion and defend devolution in Kenya. This event will be officially opened by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto on the 16th of August 2023. The conference will be live on KBC Channel 1. To participate, register today on conference.cog.go.ke.
I got my child on the last year of high school. When everyone else was sitting for exam, I was busy pushing a baby out. Yes. So first, I became a mother. My dad is a preacher. Hello. Bwana asifiwe.
First, when I was 15 years, I got pregnant. And now I'm 19. So you can see the age.
It was a double tragedy across the community and to myself, and it felt like there's no way I will conquer this mountain. It felt like doomed.
The teen mothers, akim sitoe ball, ikeni ball, mzae, na maisha inasonga. Because you never know what is coming next.
Are you ready to break the chain? Because we call them chain breakers.
Welcome back. The Senate Ad Hoc Committee on the 1998 bomb blast now wants the U.S. Congress to amend the U.S. Victims of Terrorism Compensation Act to include Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing in the compensation fund. Committee Chairperson Senator Agnes Kavindu urged the U.S. government to consider the rights of Kenyans who have suffered for the last 25 years and compensate them just like the American victims.
For the last 25 years, every anniversary, the American government and the American embassy goes on a propaganda campaign to demonstrate that we as Kenyan victims have been compensated.
Douglas Sidielo lost his eyesight following the Al-Qaeda bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi in 1998. For the last 25 years, Douglas and other Kenyan victims of the bombing have sought compensation in vain, despite the U.S. victims having received $5 million each.
We want to make it very clear to the American government, we are not happy. If you are believers of human rights, if you are believers of democracy, please accept to do a legislation that will make Kenyans admissible and eligible for compensation through the U.S. Victims of Terrorism Compensation Fund.
Senate's ad hoc committee on the 1998 bomb blast, led by Senator Agnes Kavindu, has been meeting the Kenyan victims and their lawyers to resolve the delayed compensation. They now plan to fly to the United States in September to lobby the U.S. Congress and the Senate to consider amending the U.S. Victims of Terrorism Compensation Act to cater for Kenyan victims.
We are only requesting the Americans to do an amendment to that law and include Kenya. And we are also asking Americans, and especially the American government, to walk the talk, because they keep on talking about human rights. These people have been denied their rights for the last 25 years.
US-based lawyer Philip Mussolino, who represented the Kenyan victims at New York Court and the US Supreme Court, says the length the cause has taken now requires a government-to-government approach.
We're all familiar with the new African policy in 2022, and it sounds great. It reads great. I think it's fantastic. But here is an opportunity for the United States to actually do what it says is an American value, which I believe is an American value. To be stronger friends with Kenyans, to take care of the friends that we put in harm's way, and to not leave them behind.
Bishop Kiwashira, Legends Edition.
The second phase of the implementation of the Gulana Kulalu Food Security Project is currently 97% complete and is expected to be ready in December this year. Twiga Foods, the private investor engaged targets to put a total of 20,000 acres under irrigation after the construction of Galana Dam. This expansion is expected to boost the annual maize production by 2 million bags.
Speaking during a tour of the project by Water and Irrigation Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome, Twiga Foods co-founder and Group Chief Executive Officer Peter Njonjo said that the expansion is informed by the area's productivity and the irrigation infrastructure in place.
Unlike other parts of the country, the maize crop takes 105 days here. So it means that with irrigation, you can actually do 3 crops a year, including a rotational crop. And when you take that into account and the high yield, then this has an opportunity of actually creating a huge transformation as far as maize is concerned.
He said the construction of Galana Dam is pivotal to the project that also plans to cultivate an additional 350,000 acres.
At 20,000 acres, we anticipate that we can get to as high as 2 million bags a year. And that starts now making a difference in terms of pricing. Our objective is to ensure that with this yield, we can then give back to society a lower price product that is of very, very high quality.
The company, in collaboration with the National Irrigation Authority, has already established a maize crop trial on 538 acres, employing various trial treatments to ensure optimized crop growth. The Cabinet Secretary, Alice Wahome, revealed plans to diversify the project's potential.
Because other than the 20,000 acres, and of course, Twiga is not limited to 20,000 because they are the original now in private investors that have taken the challenge. They are here on the farm as we proceed to another maybe 300,000 acres. Because we have 300,000 acres that are arable if we provide water.
Wahome said the initiative comes as a major stride towards enhancing national food security, fostering job creation, and propelling socio-economic development in Kenya. Earlier, Wahome visited Bura Irrigation and Settlement Scheme Rehabilitation Project, where she urged the contractor to hasten its completion to ensure all the targeted farmers in Bura Irrigation Scheme start utilizing the installed infrastructure for sustainable food production. Beatrice Getonyeng-Etich, Legends Edition.
Education stakeholders have been advised to prepare adequately ahead of the triple transitions in the new curriculum. And Matatu owners in Kiambu County plan to establish their own driver's training school in a bid to curb road carnage. These and more news making headlines in the counties.
Speaking at Suguta COG Secondary School, Masaba South, Sub-County in Kisii, Kenya Secondary Schools Association Chairman Robinson Matara noted that the successful transition from grade 6, junior and senior schools need proper infrastructure to be put in place early enough.
As a school, you need to prepare for that transition so that you put up enough infrastructure, and therefore this calls for parents, the leadership, the political leadership in this area, and everybody else.
Meanwhile, Matatu owners in Kiambu County plan to start their own driver's training school. They say the move is meant to complement government efforts to reduce road carnage and ensure safety for road users.
Tukiweza kutrain madereva wa matatu, mambo ya ajali itarudi chini. Tumesema mambo ya bus fare wataangalia, lakini watu waweze kuelewa kuwa mafuta imepanda, tutalipisha kulingana na vile vitu zimepanda juu, lakini make sure that tunaangalia moderate, hatutakuwa ile ya kuumiza watu.
Still in Kiambu, the youth marked the International Day of Youth at the county's headquarters in an open forum graced by Governor Kimani Wamatangi. Under the theme Innovation for Peace, the youth were urged to capitalize on their talents.
We are going to be having an ICT hub in every ward, a fully equipped ICT hub in every ward, so that our young people kule kwenye ward level, you can be able to do anything that you want to do, including the ones that are in deep huko, Gatondo North, Lari, there will be no discrimination.
And in Kajiado County, a group of well-wishers have pooled resources to construct a modern kitchen at the Mutunkei Primary School in Kitengela.
We partner with schools in Kenya to help support the children. Our main program is the feeding program, so as to help children have nutritious food, which allows them to then focus on their studies.
Awinja Amimo, reporting for Legend Audition.
Meanwhile, the government, in collaboration with the Chandaria Foundation, has begun the construction of a bakery project at the Meru Women GK prison. This is in line with the State Department for Correctional Services commitment to implement the President's directive on correctional services having their own income-generating projects.
Speaking at the Meru GK prison during the groundbreaking ceremony for a bakery project supported by the Chandaria Foundation, the Principal Secretary State Department for Correctional Services, Salome Mohia, said they are on the move to ensure correctional services in the country have their own income-generating projects.
This is going to be replicated also in the
irrigation sector, the crop development sector, the forestry. The government is very emphatic, for example, in us as a correctional services department to increase our tree planting effort.
Moya says this will also be a training area for the prisoners on entrepreneurial skills that can help them upon release from prison.
Primary goal of these programs is to reduce recidivism, the number of inmates who reoffend after they are released in prison. Additionally, the purpose is to equip them with skills so that they can participate in the economic development of the country, as is the Kenya Kwanza mission and vision.
We can even talk to the big furniture makers. They could be looking at the prisons department where they can source their furniture.
A blueprint is also in the works for prison staff housing project to ensure they have proper housing. The Kenya Prisons Commissioner General Brigadier Retired John Warioba hailed the project, saying besides providing the bakery products for the prison, the surplus can be sold to members of public and raise revenue.
Upon completion, this project will greatly enhance our rehabilitation efforts in this prison for our inmates.
Samuel Muhingo, who was representing Chundario Foundation, said the project can also generate seed capital for inmates who are released so as to enable them start their own small businesses as they integrate with the society.
This facility is meant to have a long-lasting impression to the inmates post-serving their sentences, and the arrangement is that whatever it is that they'll be making out of this facility, it will be going towards their seed capital. After they're released to go back to the society for integration, they can have some cash that they can use to make some businesses out of it.
Upon completion, the foundation will initiate a similar project at Shimwalatewa GK Prison.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Are you ready for the biggest event of the year? The Council of Governors and its partners present the Devolution Conference 2023, happening from 15th to 19th August in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. The theme of the conference is 10 years of devolution, the present and the future, and the sub-theme, driving transformation from the local level, county governments at the center of economic development. Over the years, we've brought together local and international delegates to discuss best practices and strategies to foster improved service delivery in devolved sectors and further drive change in subnational governments. The sectors to be covered include healthcare, agriculture, trade development and industrialization, blue economy, natural resource management, affordable housing, the digital economy and integration of technology, youth empowerment and affirmative action, among others. Engage in thought-provoking discussions during breakout sessions addressing key challenges and emerging issues on devolution. Don't miss the prestigious Devolution Warrior Awards, honoring individuals and institutions that champion and defend devolution in Kenya. This event will be officially opened by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto on the 16th of August 2023. The conference will be live on KBC Channel 1. To participate, register today on conference.cog.go.ke.
Well, it's about time for me to give way to another legend who is all known for sports, that is Topi Liambila. Stay with us. Topi is next.
Well, thank you very much, Edmund, for that very colorful introduction. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Edmund, on the screen. And now over to sports. Of course, we've got quite a lot lined up for you. And as usual, I'm Topi Liambila with the Legends Edition Sports this Saturday evening. We start with the Kenya Cup. Kenya Cup champions Kabras Sugar boosted their chances of winning the Christie's 7th title after winning all their group matches to qualify for the Cup quarter-finals at the RFUA grounds in Ngong Road. Kabras won the Principal 7th last Sunday after beating Kenya Harlequin 10-5 at the Nakuru Athletic Club. The two-day event that brings together 16 teams ends tomorrow. Let's have a look.
Kabras Sugar, who won the Kenya Cup title early this year, won all their group matches and qualified for the Cup quarter-finals at the RFUA grounds. They opened their campaign with a 24-12 win against Masinde Muliro, then won subsequent matches 59-0 against Impala and 15-10 against Nakuru RFC.
Regaining the lead.
Despite losing their last game against Kabras Sugar, Nakuru RFC qualified for the Cup quarter after beating Impala 21-5 and Masinde Muliro 19-14. In other matches, Sigalagala was relegated to classification matches after losing all their matches against Mamba RFC, Menengai Oilers and Nondescripts. The two-day event that brought together 16 teams will end tomorrow. For Legends Edition, I am Faith Akinyi.
From the football leagues, Kenya Premier League champions Gor Mahia are the new Football Kenya Federation Charity Shield winners after beating Mozart Cup winners Kakamega Homeboys by 4-2 on post-match penalties at the Kasarani Stadium. The two teams are tied 1-1 in the regulation time, forcing the game into the penalty shootout. Let's take a look.
FKF Premier League champions Gor Mahia have bagged their first silver before the start of the new season after beating Mozart Bet winners Kakamega Homeboys 4-2 on post-match penalties at Kasarani Stadium. Gor took the lead in the 61st minute through Boniface Omondi before Eric Kambunya leveled the scores 9 minutes later.
Moja kwa moja kwake Wino! Boniface Wino Omondi! What a strike! Wow! So you see it, Aston! Namna gani zuri hapa! Wanakosa maelewano, Eric Kambunya na warudisha mchezoni.
Both teams had clear chances of finding the winning goal but could not take them, forcing the match to go into penalty shootout. Kogalo won the match after Homeboys duo of Robinson Kamura and Stephen Opoku lost their sport kicks.
We're another 2 weeks away from full fitness. Probably Homeboys maybe started pre-season a week or two earlier than us because they have the Confederations Cup, and we wish them well in that. But I thought it was quite an evenly matched game, as it always is between ourselves and Homeboys.
So good. Kuna mambo mengi nimeona nzuri. Ile na pia kuna yale mnasema si mazuri ya kurekebisha. Na ndio tutafanya kazi kwanza hii wiki. So far so good na timu tuko sawa.
Gor Mahia will open their 2023-2024 league campaign against Sofapaka on the 26th of this month.
And on handball, the Daystar men's handball team defeated Inspired men's team 34-29 in an entertaining handball league match played today at the Nyayo National Stadium. Meanwhile, Mountain Queens women's team narrowly defeated Daystar women by 27-26. Some of the action from Nyayo.
Obuku and Amoso Kwako are the top scorers for Daystar after managing to find the net 11 and 8 times respectively, while Jesse Odola and William Oduor contributed 4 goals apiece. Brian Barasa scored 11 goals for the losers, while Brian Wafula contributed 8 goals. Meanwhile, Mountain Queens women handball team narrowly defeated Daystar women 27-26. Joyce Njeri was the top scorer for Mountain Queens after contributed 9 goals, while Sarah Muchuma contributed 8 goals that ensured the Queens won the game. In other matches played at the same venue, Black Mamba men's team outshined Wakanda 38-19, while NCPB men were too good for Wakanda men. For Legends Edition, I'm Sela Onyango.
And from baseball, Metropolitan Baseball Team registered a 19-0 victory over Kongoni in the inaugural Kenya Koshing Baseball Championship held at the JKUAT grounds. The event, organized by the Japan Africa Baseball and Softball Foundation, attracted 4 teams from different regions in the country. Let's take a look.
Metropolitan Baseball Team thrashed Kongoni 19-0 to book their slot in the final of the Kenya Koshing Baseball Championship to be played tomorrow at the same venue.
It was just a fun game. We have gained more experience, and our hope in this baseball is that in Kenya, baseball will get to be known.
Following the success of inaugural event, Tomo Narishinya, who is also the president of Japan Africa Baseball and Softball Foundation, hailed the Kenyan Federation for hosting the historic championship.
This is a vision between Baseball Federation of Kenya and JAFs that we'd like to promote baseball in future like in Japan. That's why we started this event, Baseball Koshing Kenya Baseball Tournament.
The president of Kenya Baseball Federation, Titus Mutwiri, urged other stakeholders and government to support the game in the country in bid to nurture young talents.
Collaboration with JAFs is going to open doors whereby our young under 15 players will be able to have some exchange programs whereby they can go to Japan to experience baseball.
We expect a world-class field or structure for baseball tournaments. This is the only one already in Kenya, and we want to develop it much further. What you can see, students, many students and other teams playing.
In the World Baseball Championship, Japan is ranked number 1 globally, having won championship for 7 consecutive years. The Kenyan team is ranked 48th in the world and 4th in Africa. After the Kenyan Koshing Baseball Championship, the Kenyan team will prepare for all African games to be held in Ghana next year. King Orimwangi for Legends Edition.
Another in football, the 46th edition of the Kotbiro Soccer Tournament is expected to kick off on Monday next week following its launch at the Umeme Grounds Ziwani, Nairobi. This year's tournament has attracted 32 teams drawn from Nairobi and the neighboring Kajiado and Kiambu counties. Defending champions Koroges FC has given their title defense a wide berth after failing to register for this year's tournament. 32 teams will be divided into groups of 4 teams apiece, with pool winners advancing to the knockout phase, culminating with the final. The winner of the month-long tournament will receive 200,000 Kenya shillings, while the first runner-up and second runner-up will be awarded 100,000 and 50,000 Kenya shillings, respectively.
Badilisha kidogo, vile umesikia mbeleni hapa tumekuwa na representative wa agency kutoka Canada. At least tunataka tufanye partnership, wachezaji tuweze kuweza kupatia nafasi wacheze huko nje. Ni partnership tumekuwa tukitamani sana na tunaopita itafanyika na tunaona itafanyika, na tunashukuru sana former players hapa, former international tunaita Kotbiro Legends. Jamal Mohamed kila mtu anamjua, amekuwa midfielder Harambee Stars, amecheza Warabuni, amecheza mpaka Sweden huko, amecheza pande za Europe. Tukiangalia ni mmoja wa sponsors amekuja amejitokeza, ako na Arnold Origi goalkeeper wa Harambee Stars mnamjua, ako pande za Norway pia. Pia amekuwa na sisi kwa muda mrefu.
To encourage ourselves that through this sporting activity, many of us have been alleviated from poverty. We have seen some of our great men and women in our communities being elevated from their poverty, and we are here thanks to the joint effort of former footballers and people who love the sport of football.
Yes. From the term to games schools, St. Anthony's Boys High School from Trans Nzoia County are the 2020 2023 Boys Term 2 Ball Games Soccer Champions. Solidarity Boys, as they are fondly referred to, beat Dagoretti Boys High School from Nairobi County by 2-0 to clinch the highly coveted title. St. Anthony's will be joined by Dagoretti Boys and third-placed Shanderema Boys High School as the country's representatives in the East African Regional Ball Games to be held in Kigali later this month. Shanderema had thrashed Agoro Sare by 5-1 to secure the third position. Achola Simon with the details.
Deputy County Secretary, John Kisaka, Protocol Governor.
Going by their strong showing in the group stage that saw them qualify into the semis as leaders of Pool A that included St. Anthony's Boys High School, much had been anticipated from Dagoretti Boys High School as they stepped into the final game of the week-long sporting event that brings together top schools in various ball games disciplines. But St. Anthony's, the five-time national champions, were reading from a different script and not only keen to avenge the defeat they suffered at the hands of Dagoretti Boys High School at the group stage, but also maintain their status as a top dog in the secondary school's premier soccer event. It only took the tournament's top scorer and the most valuable player, Ardin Kibet, slightly over 20 minutes to put the Solidarity Boys ahead after a fine team move. From there on, it was all St. Anthony's boys as they ran rings around Dagoretti Boys players. But even with the huge chunk of possession, they could not get a second to cement their lead before the break. In the second half, they picked up from where they had left as they dominated the proceedings until 78th minute when the talismanic player Ardin Kibet unleashed a ferocious shot just outside the 18 box into the far left corner to put the game beyond Dagoretti's reach. It got worse for the capital city boys after they were reduced to 10 men after a ball handling incident deep into the second half. St. Anthony's will now be joined by Dagoretti and Shanderema Boys High School as the first and second run-up to fill up the 3 slots for Kenya's representative at the regional event set to be held in Kigali, Rwanda. Butere Girls continued with their good showing in the tournament by stunning defending champions Wieta Girls to clinch this year's title. Butere's solitary goal was notched by Judith Akumu after their danger lady and skipper Halima Wandera was fouled in the box. Butere and Wieta will be joined in Kigali by Madira Girls from Vihiga County, who beat Dagoretti Mixed Secondary School to clinch the third spot. Kesogon beat Kwanzanze by 3-1 to clinch this year's girls volleyball title, while the boys' finals, Rithimitu beat Andersen by 3-2 to clinch this year's title. The closing ceremony was graced by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, Education and Sports Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mochogu and Ababu Namwamba respectively, among other leading politicians in the region.
But most importantly for us at the ministry, we have selected 2,000 of the best talents since these games started. And all those 2,000 will start gathering in Nairobi from Monday for Kenya's first ever national talent camp. You'll be trained by elite coaches, but most importantly, you'll be scouted by clubs, by Harambee Stars, by foreign academies, and that will be the beginning point of forming the Harambee Stars junior teams of under 17, under 19, under 23.
Years before we used to have various challenges, particularly financial, but this particular year, the funds that we were provided with by the government, not really adequate, but we also thank my brother because we have been able to get a lot of support from him, from Sport Fund, and I'm sure that going forward, we will be able to get the same kind of support.
Achola Simon, Legends Edition, Kakamega County.
Taken this title She's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 3:52.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations, and a massive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Thank you for keeping it KBC. Now we move over to the international scene. Now, with the Women's World Cup going in Australia, co-host Australia reached the Women's World Cup semi-finals for the first time as they beat France in an incredible penalty shootout at the Brisbane Stadium. Following a goalless 120 minutes, the Matildas triumphed 7-6 in a shootout which defied belief with its dramatic twists. Meanwhile, England set up a semi-final with Australia, where they after beating Colombia 2-1 in another quarter-final played today. Some of the action from Australia.
Stanway. Chance here. Russo, yes! England in front. Here's Razzo, good offer from Hayley Razzo. Here Romagnan talking hands up. Players arriving in all areas, but it's Hayley Razzo. Cross comes in, and Cote d'Ivoire. No problem for Sam Kerr. Cue the party.
And of course, with the English Premier League back again in action, I know the weekends will not be the same again for many soccer fans here in the country and all over the world. Now, Arsenal started their 2023-2024 English Premier League season with a 2-1 win over Nottingham Forest. The game was delayed by 30 minutes after problems with an e-ticketing system left thousands of fans stranded outside the Emirates Stadium. Let's take a listen.
White. Mangala.
The Gunners conceded a late goal from the visitors in the 82nd minute by substitute Taiwo Awoni.
And this is wildly encouraging, and it's 2-1, and the Arsenal fan, Awoni, has scored against the...
The game was delayed by 30 minutes after problems with an e-ticketing system left thousands of fans stranded outside the Emirates Stadium. Close to 35,000 supporters were unable to get to their seats by the scheduled kick-off time.
Arsenal's day, but not with the comfort blanket, but Arsenal held on to beat Nottingham Forest by 2.
Now, Borussia Dortmund, the Crispa's fourth-tier club, shot Mainz 6-1 on Saturday in the first round of the German Cup to make a winning start to its domestic season. Meanwhile, Bayer Leverkusen thrashed Teutonia Ottensen 8-0. Stuttgart beat Balingen 4-0, and Werder Bremen lost 3-2 to Victoria Cologne. Some of the action from the German league.
It's Royce, there's Brandt, and there's the second goal. Oh, it's come off. They've got a goal. That's just what the doctor orders. Shot nights. And it's that'll wake up Dortmund. Allaire. There's Royce. There's Allaire. There's the third goal. Third goal little flick. Marco Royce goes through. He's only got the keeper to beat, but he hasn't done it. Now Sabitzer goes for the corner. In the end, it's straight down the middle, and it's 4-1 to Dortmund. And Niklas Schlosser ready to come off, although he doesn't know it yet. Marlon. Oh, good goal, Marlon. Good goal, Daniel Marlon. Marlon, they're queuing up again. Trying to make it too complicated. How's that for a goal? Not too complicated at all. Skillful, accurate. It's now 6-1. Yusufa Mukokum's fast feet sealing.
And that is a wrap for the sports segment of the Legends Edition this Saturday evening. We are glad that you are watching. And of course, now, Edmund, we are having the English Premier League back on scene. I wonder which team do you support, Edmund?
You know, I can tell you the team that I'll support is the one that hopefully will not go beyond certificate of participation. If you know, you know.
What you mean we know it? Well, of course, for me, like what I've always said is that, you know, my team is Harambee Stars. I don't support any English Premier League teams, and of course, I've got my own reasons. And all of that, I can see in the studio here, I'm being even cross-eyed, like, why? How can you not support the English Premier League? But then that's it. Well, from me, Topi Liambila, it's a good night. And remember to keep it KBC Channel 1, your true sporting partner. Until next weekend again for the Under Legends edition. So over to you, Edmund, to wrap up the show tonight.
Asante, Topi. Well, like we say, we thank you for the privilege of your time. And it's time for us to say kwaheri. And from everybody, and especially the one who did the sign language, Baron Abuli, kwaheri sana.